Holy Spirit, moving us, and make our lives whole again. Holy Spirit, move over. Hi guys, hi everybody, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. My name is FifiRich and I welcome you to this Greater Impact Corner. This is a new program, as you are all aware, and this is going to be the second segment of the program. You're so welcome. Please always feel free to share the program. You never know who it might help. Sometimes it's just one word being spoken in due time will bring healing to the soul, will affect a person's life forever, even. So, yeah, guys, we're here for you. One of the things that matters to us more than anything is the soul, the health of your soul, the well being of your spirit, the functionality of your human nature, as a wholesome being. Is it trapezoid? Yeah, I understand men is trapezoid, if I'm saying it correctly. We are a spirit, we have a soul, we live in a body, so we're here for your wholesome well-being. And so, as you guys know, this program, the Greater Impact Corner, it addresses and it explores with the aim to bring solution the matters of the heart versus the issues of life. Of course, we're doing this from a Christian perspective, from a biblical point of view, and we're going to be banking on the inspiration of the Spirit of God to lead us and to help us to help one another. Remember, I'm here for you, but I'm also going to be getting help myself. And the Bible says that guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it flow the issues of life. And if you'll notice, in one verse, we have the issues of life and we have matters of the heart. Issues of life and the heart, they appear in one verse, and that tells us something. We cannot separate the issues of life from the matters of the heart, because the issues that affect us so severely, the issues that cut so deep and wound us so badly, that sometimes people never recover for a lifetime. Sometimes people die with the impact, the effects of certain experiences and exposures. These are the things that also affect the heart. The heart is directly affected and primarily affected, so above all things. And so we are going to be talking about things like that on this program, so please be on the lookout. The other time, in the first session, which was the last session, I talked about the first thing you gotta do, the first step you gotta take in order to get help, in order to get your breakthrough, is to acknowledge that you need help. You can never change what you can acknowledge. This is something that Dr. Phil used to say when I used to watch him a lot when I was a really young child. I used to watch Dr. Phil, a very young child. I had like symptoms of different disorders. So I just kind of used to watch, hoping that I'd get help myself. So and apart from that, just that I love talk shows. So I really used to enjoy just watching Dr. Phil help people. And I think also because I'm an empath myself and I love to help people. I love hearing people out. I love to just help people to find solution and to fix their things. Today I just want to talk about something briefly. I hope I'm not gonna be too long on this one. I want to just talk about the issue of not being afraid to ask yourself some questions. Remember the last time we were talking about you gotta acknowledge that you need help. You have to admit that you actually have a problem. That is a very, very good step, and it is a step towards progress, right? We've seen people that are in denial. It's very hard. It's actually impossible to help a person that is in denial. Sometimes they feel like they are not wrong, but everybody else is wrong. They have somebody else to blame: the government, parents, mother, father. This didn't happen, that didn't happen, so and so did this, so and so left me. Daddy wounds, mommy wounds, and they often have also a distorted image of God. They see God a certain not so good way because of some of the things they've been through. I have been that child myself, so I know what I'm talking about. I know how it is to have experiences that taint me, that taint my soul, that taint my mind, that give me the impression that maybe God doesn't really care. Maybe God doesn't love me as much as he says he does. Why should he allow certain things to happen? Why must I suffer like this in my soul, in my spirit? Why must I struggle like this, So I know how it is to have some kind of a distorted view of God. Maybe even because of daddy wounds, because your father was not there when you were growing up. And oftentimes, the way we view God or how we perceive God is very close to the way we relate with our natural fathers. By natural father, I mean the father that bore you, the father who is your biological father. Oftentimes, our relationship with our natural father is actually, it creates a standard for how we relate with God, our expectation of God. For instance, if you have a father who is very strict, a father who is a bully, a father who is abusive, a father who you can never approach for help, a father who never meets your needs as a child, chances are you're going to look at God in the same way. You're going to think God is a bully, God is very strict, God can never meet your needs, God is out to hurt you, to harm you, to destroy you, and if anything, you want to protect yourself against God. So that's just one of the things. Whereas on the contrary, if you have a father who is loving, who's always been there for you, always been there, to rescue you, to protect you, to shield you, as a dad, as the head of the household, somebody who's always provided for your needs, somebody who's friendly, who laughs with you, who can crack jokes with you. You can go for sporting events together. Chances are you're going to have an easy time relating with God because you've had an easy time relating with your father. And so you know that your relationship with God is not strict, but it's relaxed, it's lenient, it's a relationship of love. There's friendship, there's companionship, there's laughter, there's love, there's provision. So it's very much related. I mean, how we perceive God with our relationships with our natural parents, just by the way. But today we're just gonna be addressing the issue of don't be afraid to ask yourself questions in life. Don't be afraid to ask yourself the tough questions. Don't be afraid to sit with yourself and say, well, this has happened. I'm feeling a particular type of way, but why? Why am I in this position? As a result of my experiences or what I've been exposed to or what's been said to me. Maybe I've heard something, I was told something, but why am I in this position? Have I allowed it? If I've allowed it, for how long? Is it necessary? Do I have to be in this position? What does God say about me being in this position? Is it the will of God for me to be here? Or is it the enemy that has put me in this position? Say you have struggles with fear. Is it God? Is it the devil? Is it what I heard from my parents? What's going on? What's going on? So don't be afraid to ask yourself questions with every experience that you find yourself in. The why, the how, the where, the when, the who, every other thing, every other person that is involved. A person that is able to ask himself or herself questions is somebody that proves to have a strong will and a strong mind. You have to develop a strong will and a strong mind. Your will is your ability to make choices, your ability to make decisions, your ability to choose right from wrong, and so on and so forth. So I just want to encourage you today, don't be afraid to ask yourself the hard questions and develop a strong mindset where you don't find yourself shying away from the questions, shying away from the conversations that you really should be having with yourself. Because certain things, if you don't address them, certain conversations, if you're going to be afraid to have them with yourself, you are going to find that they will have an impact, whether positive or negative, but most of the time a negative impact on your relationships with your loved ones, on how you relate with the people around you, with the people you say you care for, people you say matter to you. So don't be afraid to ask yourself the tough questions. And one thing that I've realized is the kind of people that don't or can never ask themselves the real questions, the fundamental questions, in order to get them to their breakthrough or to get them moving towards solution or progress in resolving some of the unresolved issues, some of the problem challenges in life. It's people that never want to pay attention to themselves. It's people that never want to get with themselves. It's people that are not in touch with themselves. They're oftentimes just slothful and messy with themselves. They don't care. They're careless, so to speak. They don't care, what's going on with their mental health. They don't care much what's going on with their emotional health. They don't care much to look into issues like my spiritual well-being. They just live life cruising through. And oftentimes it's not that they don't know when they have problems, but a lot of the time they just ignore them with some kind of hope, subconsciously or consciously, that things will just be okay on their own, or I'll see. Or they just cope by ignoring things. They get to a point where they say, well, I'm probably gonna have to just manage this thing, so whatever, I don't think I'm gonna deal with it. And that's because they don't know how to deal with it. Oftentimes we don't deal with things not because we don't want to deal with them, but because we don't know how. This is my testimony. I've had struggles in my life. I've had struggles in the past where now that I'm 25 years old and I'm gonna be 26 just next month, I realized some months back that, whenever I've had problems in my life, whenever I've had issues, the issues of life have affected me, the matters of the heart to deal with and things like that, and I never addressed them. It was not, in my own case, it was not because I did not want to address them, but it was because I did not know how. So the how part is very important, just as important as identifying that there's a problem and then how to resolve it. It goes hand in hand, because if I'm going to identify a problem and say, hey, I know myself to have been severely affected and wounded as a child by the divorce of my parents, by the separation of my parents. Then I'm gonna deal with it however I think. Look for narcotics, however I think will help me. Look for help, or develop coping mechanisms that I think are best, when I don't necessarily know what is the ideal route to take to properly recover. Chances are I'm not gonna get the proper kind of help. So I can know the problem, but then I may not know how to deal with the problem. I can know the problem and resort to something which I think is a solution, only to realize that this thing is not a solution at all. It's not helping in any way. It's actually making matters worse. Or the solution that I think is a solution is actually introducing another problem within itself. Let me illustrate this. When I was growing up, I was a big girl. I was a big child when I was growing up, and I remember, because I had unresolved issues with my parents' divorce. My parents' divorce really affected me. My parents divorced when I was really little, like maybe this size, literally, I was so little. I think I was 2 years and under. I have no memory whatsoever of my parents' marriage. I have no memory whatsoever of my parents being together. And so I was growing up, I had wounds because I was faced with, my dad doesn't like me calling it rejection. When I say I've been rejected by certain people as a result of the separation between my mom and dad, that were also supposed to have been critical role models in my life, and they disappointed and they rejected me. He doesn't want me to use that term. He says only your parents can reject you, but according to me, it was rejection. I mean, everybody has a story and everybody has a reaction or a response, or they're affected by certain things in different ways. And so for me, the divorce of my parents, as I was trying to figure it out growing up, I was the child that never had answers but had so many questions. So you can imagine how it was. So and so is being picked up by mom and dad from school. My friend so and so is picked up by mom and dad. I don't have mom and dad to pick me up. It's either mom or sometimes dad and some other partner, another lady, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, can you guys just help me right now? But I was the child that grew up with so many questions but no answers. And I got to a point where growing up, I started comfort eating.